It was a sunny afternoon at a quiet neighborhood pool when the tension hit like a sudden storm. People were splashing, kids laughing, and the smell of sunscreen filled the air. Then, two uniformed officers approached a man sitting by the edge of the pool. His towel was draped over his shoulders, sunglasses on, looking calm, almost too calm. "Sir, you can't be here," one officer barked. His tone carried more suspicion than concern. The man slowly looked up, his expression unreadable. "I'm just here to swim," he said softly, but his calm didn't seem to convince them. The officers insisted, words rising. Other swimmers stopped and stared, sensing something was wrong. The man stood, hands raised slightly, not in surrender, just to show he meant no harm. Yet, the officers moved closer, their voices harsh, accusations flying about, loitering, and suspicious behavior. Then it happened. One officer grabbed him roughly, and before he could react, they cuffed him. The pool went silent. A mother gasped, a kid's eyes widened, everyone frozen in disbelief. But then, a strange shift came over the officers' faces. One of them muttered something under his breath, checking his radio. Suddenly, their harshness wavered, and they froze completely. The man didn't struggle. He just smiled slightly and said, "Before you say another word, I work with the FBI." The words hung in the air, heavy and shocking. Everyone at the pool stared, whispers spreading like wildfire. The same officers who had been so aggressive now looked like they'd seen a ghost. Their hands trembled slightly over the cuffs. One officer whispered to the other, You knew." The viral line floated across the stunned crowd. Some uniforms don't tell the full story. The man's calm confidence made it clear, this was no ordinary arrest, and no ordinary man. And the pool, once a place of leisure, had turned into the center of a story nobody would forget. The tension didn't end there. The officers slowly stepped back, unsure what to do next. Around the pool, people murmured, some recording on their phones. The man removed his sunglasses, and for the first time, his eyes met theirs, not with anger, but with a quiet authority that made the air feel heavier. "Sir, FBI." One officer stammered, his voice shaking. The man nodded, his posture still relaxed, almost teasing. "Yes. And I suggest you check your reports before making assumptions about someone at a pool." A few bystanders whispered to each other. One teenager, clutching a towel, said, "I can't believe they just arrested him for sitting there." Others nodded, faces showing disbelief. But the man wasn't finished. He leaned slightly toward the officers and added, "Sometimes, the uniform doesn't tell the whole story." At that moment, a voice crackled over the radio of one officer. They froze again, eyes widening. Something in the tone made it clear, this wasn't just a simple warning. They were officially being watched. The man stepped forward, calm, letting the words sink in without a trace of threat. The viral line echoed in the background chatter. "Judging someone by what they see can be the biggest mistake of your life." Suddenly, the officer's earlier aggression felt absurd, almost dangerous in retrospect. They were caught between protocol and the sudden realization that this man had far more authority than them. The crowd sensed it, leaning in, curious and tense. The man straightened his shoulders, motioning subtly toward the pool gate, as if signaling that this was over, on his terms. But even as the officers relaxed, a new question hung in the air. How did a casual swim turn into a confrontation with one of the most powerful federal agents around? The officers didn't move for a few seconds, still processing the shock. The man adjusted his towel around his shoulders, then casually picked up his water bottle. The pool, which had been filled with laughter minutes ago, was now silent, everyone holding their breath. One of the officers finally cleared his throat. We didn't know," he mumbled, looking down at the cuffs in his hands. The man shook his head slowly, almost with pity. "Not knowing can get dangerous," he said. His tone wasn't angry, but it carried weight, a quiet warning that seemed to ripple through the crowd. A mother whispered to her child, "See, you never know who's sitting next to you." The word spread, murmurs rising as people pieced it together. Someone nearby snapped a photo of the officer holding the cuffs, and it instantly went viral on social media before the man even left the pool area. Then, as if the tension wasn't enough, the man's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, smiled faintly, and said, "Well, looks like backup is already on the way." The officers glanced at each other, realizing their actions were now being watched at multiple levels. Their earlier authority seemed almost laughable in comparison. The viral line from a bystander floated through the air, "You can't judge power by the uniform you see." Even as he walked toward the pool exit, the man didn't rush. Every step was measured, every glance calm but commanding. And behind him, the crowd's curiosity turned to awe, all wondering, what happens when someone who's trained to observe every move, decides to teach a lesson without raising a hand? As he reached the pool gate, the man paused, turning back just enough for everyone to see him clearly. The sunlight caught the badge clipped discreetly to his belt. It wasn't flashy, but it was enough to confirm what he had said. Whispers spread instantly. People's phones were out, recording, streaming, tweeting. The video would blow up in minutes. One of the officers cleared his throat again, trying to regain composure. "Sir, he began, but the man cut him off gently. "No explanations needed. Just remember this: assumptions can ruin more than just your day." He smiled faintly, a small, almost teasing curve of his lips. Suddenly, a woman who had been watching from the poolside called out, "Wait, are you serious? You're FBI." The man nodded, and the reaction was instantaneous: gasps, whispers, and a few stunned claps. People couldn't believe it. The same officers who had been so aggressive moments ago now looked embarrassed, unsure where to put their hands. The viral line hit the crowd like lightning: "Power isn't what you wear, it's what you hold inside." Just as the man stepped out onto the sidewalk, his phone buzzed again. He glanced at it briefly, then looked at the officers. "Next time, think before you act. Or someone else will make the mistake for you." With that, he walked away calmly, leaving the officers frozen, the crowd buzzing, and the pool forever changed in their minds. And in the background, a faint siren could be heard, another reminder that this was far from over. The twist wasn't just that he was FBI, it was that his presence had already set off a chain of events that nobody at the pool could have predicted.